In this video, we will review the flexible invoice processes. To create invoices, we need to go to the Project Management and Accounting module, Project Invoices, and then Project Invoices, Project Invoice Proposals. The Project Invoice Proposals page opens. Click New and click on Invoice Proposal from the drop-down. Select the project contract ID from the drop-down list. All transactions related to the project are displayed in the Project Transactions grid. Next, select the checkboxes for any transactions that should be included in the invoice proposal. Note that there are custom flexible invoice fields that indicate the department, job title, and week ending date related to the transaction. To send the invoices related to only one particular department, the columns can be used to filter on the values, such as only sales and marketing, operations executive, administrative department, and so on. In this example, the invoices could be filtered to include only the sales and marketing department. The job title column lets you filter on a particular job title, such as include only manager level job titles, order processor, auditor, or accounting team job titles. The week ending date lets you filter which employees' week ending dates to include on the invoice proposal. Select all the transactions to include the invoice proposal and click OK. The invoice proposal has been created and displays. 2 lines were submitted in the previous page and 2 lines were created on the invoice proposal. Next, we need to post this invoice proposal. Select Post from the ribbon and the Post Invoice Proposals page opens. Select the invoice proposal to post and click OK. A message displays you are about to post the document without printing it. Select OK to continue. Click OK. The invoice proposal has been posted, which means it was invoiced. The status now shows Invoiced. In addition to the process just shown, AXIO ProServe Flexible Invoice also includes the standard Create Project Invoice Proposals with billing rules, and also Create Project Invoice Proposals without billing rules. From here also we can create the invoice proposal. Once we click on this, the Create Invoice Proposals window opens. From here you can select the invoicing method, which transaction types to include, as well as other filters such as project ID to narrow what is included in the invoice proposal. Now that the project invoice proposal is created, we will review some of the features in the flexible invoice module. Select AXIO ProServe from the menu and then under Periodic, select Invoice Package Creation. The Invoice Package Creation window opens. In this demonstration, we only choose 2 lines for the invoice, but in reality the invoice could have numerous lines. Regardless of how many invoices were created, all those invoices will be created in one package and will be sent to an email in a PDF to our email recipient. Click OK. The invoice package processing has started, and the process combines the invoices for each project invoice into one PDF document that will be emailed to our email recipient. We can open the PDF from the Downloads folder to view it. Here is the invoice and the details of that particular invoice. Now let's go back to the Flexible Invoice app and select Project Invoice Email. The Project Invoices email processing window opens. Click OK and an email will be sent to the email IDs that we set up in the project contract detail level. You will get a notification that the project invoice process is completed. Next we'll go back to AXIO ProServe, Setup, AXIO ProServe Parameters, and then select Flexible Invoice from the navigation menu on the left. In the Setup Flexible Invoice Parameters, there are Enable Grouping and Subtotals, Invoice Break By, and Print Extra Columns options. For the first option, if we set the Enable Department to Yes and then Save, and then go back to the project contract level, AXIO ProServe, Project Management and Accounting, Project, Project Contracts. Click the project contract to open it and then navigate to Funding Sources Details tab. Scroll to the bottom and now the Group and Subtotals section displays, whereas before we were seeing only the Invoice Frequency and Week and Date section. Now we can see the options under Grouping and Subtotal by Department or Week and Date. We can see the Department and WE date fields because we enabled only these two options in the Setup Parameters page. If we set up the Enable Employee and Enable Job Title options and save it and refresh the page, the Employee and the Job Title options are added. In conclusion, in order to display and use these fields, they must first be enabled in the AXIO ProServe Parameters Setup Flexible Invoice Parameters page. In the same way, other options can be enabled for viewing, like the project category. Use the Enable Print Extra Columns if you want additional columns included in the report, such as Print Job Title and Print Date Range. Again, to enable these options, set the Boolean to Yes. Go back to the funding source details and refresh the page to show the invoice break by columns are now displayed. Grouping and subtotals are available and will turn on Department. Click Save. Next, navigate to the Project Management Accounting module, Project Invoices. Select an invoice from the grid and select Project Invoice, Document, View, Original. As grouping and subtotals by department is set to Yes, the report will be grouped on the department. The last thing we'll review is flexible invoice reports. Previously in AXIO Parameters, we enabled grouping and subtotals and invoice break by options. So now one by one we'll save each option and review. We will enable Department under Grouping and Subtotals and save it. Navigate to Project Invoices and select a project invoice. Click on Project Invoice, Document, View, Original. You can see these lines for work performed by Ellen, Lars, and Terrence, all grouped by the Operations Department. This is because we enabled the department grouping in the previous step. Now let's select Week and Date. Save it. Navigate back to the invoice, Project Invoice, Document, View, Original. Now the grouping on the invoice is by week and date. There are two lines under week and date, 2/12 for Ellen and Lars, and the line for Terrence falls under the 2/19 week and date. This timesheet for Terrence is on a different week and date, so that's why it falls under a different grouping. Now let's look at the employee grouping. Save the changes, select the invoice, then Project Invoice, View, Original. So we have 3 employees, Ellen, Lars, and Terrence. It's grouping by employees. Next, let's look at grouping by job titles. If employees have different job titles, the report will be generated on different job titles. If employees have the same job title, it will group the report under the same job title. Let's see how the 3 employees have different job titles. Terrence has the Outbound Technician job title, Lars has the Shop Supervisor job title, and Ellen has the Warehouse Manager job title. So they have 3 different job titles, and they are grouped separately by job title on the report. Thank you for viewing this video on AXIO ProServe Flexible Invoice Processes.